Welcome back to the KR Daily Transmission. I am so thrilled to be here with you this morning. I am just having so much fun interviewing our certified Sophia Circle leaders worldwide. Every single interview that I've gotten to walk through over the past few days, it just keeps opening my heart wider and wider and wider to get to know on an even deeper level how extraordinary our certified Sophia Circle leaders are, the amazing ways that they're serving on their platforms, in their ministries, in their daily lives, and what an impact they are making for activating the sovereign divinity of humanity worldwide through these very powerful Sophia Circle journeys, which they have been certified to lead and facilitate that sacred space of how to awaken to the truth of your sovereign divinity. Today, I am so excited. I've just been so looking forward to this conversation all week with this beautiful man, Dr. Merlin Pickston. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
It is. That's
okay.
Right.
And Dr. Merlin is joining us from the United Kingdom, England to be precise. And I'm just so thrilled that we're going to have this dialogue about sovereignty, about activating men into their sovereignty, how you came in your journey with the Sophia Code, how your journey into Sophia Circle leadership unfolded. We just have been witnessing your incredible, heartfelt work in this ministry in our global movement from here in the United States. And so we're just so thrilled that you could join us for this interview today. Welcome, Merlin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Merlin, let's talk a little bit about, I think you're the first, no, you are the first man that I've interviewed who's a Sophia Circle leader. And I remember when I saw you join the program, I remember thinking there's something really special about this soul. And let's see what happens. So tell me a little bit about how did you find the Sophia Code and what led you to Sophia Circle leadership?
So I actually found the Sophia Code immediately after it was published.
Oh my God.
In 2016. Wow. Yeah. There was a very dear friend of mine. She had listened to the Beyond the Ordinary show that you were featured on. And
that was the launch.
Yeah, she messaged me, said, you need to get this book. So I ordered it from Amazon and it got delivered and I just started working with it. And it was just like, oh my God, wow, throughout the whole of the book. And it was just really transformational. And I've obviously been working with it now for, nearly 6 years. And it's a constant companion throughout my life. I don't think I ever go through a period of time where I'm actually not reading it, because as we know, it's a living transmission. So, every time I'm reading through it, I'm getting something new, something different, and what I need in that, at that time and in that moment. What led me to Sophia Circle leadership, because of the transformation that it helped me with. I mean, very briefly, I cared for my wife for 8 years and she passed over. She transitioned last year. Right. And that was an extremely challenging but activating period in my life. And the Sophia Code actually helped me to really cope with it, to get through. Being able to be immersed in the teachings and to live and practice that on a daily basis helped me to get through. It really did. So when you announced that you were going to do the Certified Leaders Program, immediately my heart was up. I need to do that.
I have full body chills. I thank you so much for sharing your journey. I mean, I don't think there's any greater heartfelt loss than like the loss of a partner, the loss of a child, like that very, oh my God, that means so much to me that the Sophia Code brought you so much comfort and support through such a powerful transition. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm curious, because we receive emails it's so sweet. It's so like on Instagram, Facebook, and our inbox where men are like, can I come to your event? Like, is the Sophia Code for me? Is this okay that I want to read this and do these initiations? And because it is a sacred text of sovereignty given to us specifically from divine feminine Christ consciousness ascended masters. And there was a reason for that. And it's not that the divine masculine isn't featured in the codex, because it is, especially with ascended master Jesus and, you know, the Maha of all ascended masters, Maha Avatar Babaji. It's like, it's not that the divine masculine isn't there. It's that we needed to present a divine feminine Christ perspective on how to come into a full knowing of divine feminine, which allows us to actually connect with divine masculine. Like there's the wounded feminine, there's the wounded masculine, and like the wounded masculine, people are so shattered from that on the planet right now. It's like to even begin to understand how we can return to that divine masculine conversation, we need the activating principle of the divine feminine that guides us to the sovereignty that allows us to meet the divine masculine anew and fresh, free of religious doctrine, free of the dogma, free of like thousands of years of patriarchal oppression. So that's the full expression of sovereignty. I'm curious as a man, like, what was that like for you coming into contact with this divine feminine Christ Codex?
I'd always had kind of this feeling. I never really fitted in. So there's this element of, okay, so I watched other men behaving in a particular way, and I was like, that's not right. That's not how we should be treating one another, treating women, treating, you know, humanity. It's just not right. And so for me, it was very, very easy to embrace, because it made total sense to me that actually there is a lack of the way that society is actually being set up, and the indoctrination that we receive leads us to a place of ego. That place of ego is very much embedded in wounded masculine behavior. And so it's a little bit about understanding. You described it so beautifully when you were saying that you've got to embrace that divine feminine to be able to come back to the divine masculine. And so it's about the divine feminine helps to undo the wounding. And when you fully embrace that, you're able to actually kind of really unpick it and allow something to fresh and anew to begin. And that really was what happened to me. It made me realize that actually, no, all those feelings that I had about this wasn't right and this behavior wasn't right, and the way that, you know, that I was seeing things happen. And when I talk about wounded masculine, I mean, I see it in women as well as men. And
1,000,000%. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
And so the women have been wounded by all of this also. And one of the things I felt very strongly was that there's been a shift over a number of years where men have kind of been in a situation where they've been told, well, you need to be more in touch with your feminine side. You need to show your emotions more. And so there's been the shift from, oh, you don't show anything, and you don't do this and you don't do that, to moving to a point where, well, you've got to do that. But we also still want you to be the knight in shining armor and do all of those things as well. And for a lot of men, I think it's really confusing. It's like, well, what exactly am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to behave? How am I supposed to be with myself that feels comfortable and okay? And that was part of my prayer. Was very much to go, it's okay to connect with this divine feminine teaching, this with divine feminine Christ consciousness, because when you really dip into it and you step into it, it makes you, it heals you, it cleanses you. And so it gives an opportunity and a space to be able to actually sit and go, okay, right, now I can look at my masculine self and my masculine embodiment and go, right, okay, this is now what feels right for me to be and how to behave. It creates a shift. And so for any men who are kind of thinking, is this for me? Oh, absolutely, it's for you. I mean, and I guess the other thing that I always kind of felt really strongly was that, and this has become very clear to me working with the Codex and being able to really connect with parallel lives and, with that element is, we are divine beings. The gender thing kind of, is what we've chosen in this lifetime to embody. But actually, I've been a woman in a past life, I've been a man in a past life, whatever. So not to get so hung up on the gender, because actually it's all about that beautiful Christ consciousness, which is that blend of masculine and feminine anyway.
1,000,000%. I love what you articulated so much. I mean, I think that was one of the most confusing things for me as a child, because I had these very clear bleed through memories of walking as a man in other parts of the world at other times. And then I had, very clear memories of being a woman and very clear memories of being something other than human. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, what does that mean for me in this female body? And as I healed my wounded feminine and the wounded masculine within me and came into alignment, which is a work in progress, it's ever ongoing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Journey of reclaiming the divine feminine, divine masculine in our daily human life. I love being in a woman's body. I love it. It's like, this is the suit I get to wear in this lifetime, and I'm gonna own it. And within that, whatever, this gender identification, and I love being a woman, I get to love the divine masculine principles that support me in my love of womanhood. And I love that you're speaking to the confusion that men feel, because I have a lot of private conversations with men that speak to this same issue. They're like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I want to be respectful. I love being a man. I love being masculine. How do I include these feminine, intuitive parts within me while still being like, the manly man I want to be in this lifetime? And like, there's no right or wrong expression of that. But for some men, like, they want to be that very masculine embodiment of a man, identifying as men and as that gender. And it's like, good for you. We need you to do that. We want you to do that.
Yeah.
And I love that you articulated it was through healing the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine within you that you became really comfortable with your decision of how you are expressing your embodiment in this lifetime. It goes from like, how am I supposed to behave according to the culture, according to what everyone is wounded and talking about, and then that shift into sovereignty. I will decide how these divine feminine and masculine qualities are going to be expressed in my human life. And to hear that from your perspective as a man, that just feels extraordinary to witness. Thank you. So I saw in your interview notes that your main ascended master mentor is Hathor. I mean, whenever I'm always curious when I speak to leaders in the Sophia Code movement, because I always can kind of like, ooh, wow. Like, somebody tells me they've mentored with Green Tara their whole life, my ears go up, like I'm paying attention. Same with Hathor. So tell me about how the Sophia Code supported your mentorship to bloom with Hathor. I'm so curious. She's such an interesting and, for many people, intimidating mentor.
The first time that I read the Codex, I was reading the so about Hathor's leadership before the initiation, and I was reading it, and I'm going, yeah, I know I can do that.
Yes. I mean, named Merlin, for God's sake. Yeah.
I was just reading through it, and I was going, yeah, I know I can do that. I know that if I work with Hathor, if I mentor with Hathor, that is what I'm going to be able to do. That is what I'm going to be able to embody. And in fact, it felt like I'd already worked with her before, that I had already gone through quite a few initiations with her. And so it felt very, very natural for me to be able to continue. It felt like, oh, hi, it's you again, kind of thing, you know? It was very much like that. And don't get me wrong, I mean, all of the Ascended Masters in the first 8 revealed key codes have very much been present through my journey. And you know, they just come in whenever I need that. Yes. You know, I feel that, and they're there. You know, but with Hathor, this has been kind of the real kind of one all the way along the line, and you know, lots of really cool multi-dimensional stuff has been happening to me as a result of my mentorship with Hathor.
Can only imagine it's Hathor, for God's sake. I mean, like, wow.
I mean, I will share this with you. I mean, yes. in my last, in the Sophia Circle Journey that I've just completed, which was an in-person journey, yes. I was in this room that I'm in, and wow. the initiates were sat in the circle, and we were doing the group discussion, and as we it was just after we'd finished doing the reading of the codex, and all of the initiates were seeing the walls in this room move. They were seeing the multidimensional power and kind of transmission of Hathor. I mean, it was really incredible.
Because when you mentor with Hathor long enough, you come into the truth of the fabric of reality, that anything that appears to be physical is just atoms moving slow enough, decelerated enough to have an experience of density. And Sophia Circle Journeys guide you again and again through 13 gatherings, through every chapter of the Sophia Code, to experience sacred space is consecrated not just to your sovereign divinity, but to the 7th plane, Christ consciousness of your sovereign divinity. And that's extremely unique to the Sophia Code, because that's the consciousness, that source consciousness from which all of creation arises. So we're already attuning ourselves to the source of creation, which takes us beyond the physicality of form. And I love that you're bringing that up, because Sophia Circle Journeys are extremely multidimensional. Tell me, how was that for you as a Sophia Circle leader, deeply attuned to the Hathor Key Code 2 transmission? How was that to lead 13 gatherings in person? Because a lot of leaders have led virtually because of the circumstances over the past 2 years. I'm fascinating. What was it like for you to lead in person?
It was amazing. It was really, really powerful. It was beautiful. I'm more than part of my heart's prayer, of course, was to bring the codex to men. So more than half of the initiates were men.
That's extraordinary. Oh my God, thank you. Wow.
So that was the first thing, and then to witness the transformation of these initiates from the beginning to how we then finished with the dragons at the end was just so beautiful. And the energy and the power and the whole kind of just feeling in the circle when we're in that 7th plane, yes. You know, consciousness, it's just really potent, really powerful. It's almost intoxicating. I mean, it really,
absolutely, you're getting high off God.
Yeah. And so everyone was like, oh, it's over, really? Can we stay a bit longer? You know, it really was like that. And so we had Mary Magdalene's circle. So when we were doing the Mary Magdalene circle, whoa, yeah. That was actually, of this particular Sophia Circle Journey, was the most powerful one. I mean, it was just, everyone in the room was could feel it. I mean, it was so tangible, the angelic presence that Mary Magdalene brings, and they'd all kind of been through, they'd read the chapter and done all of that, and but to actually sit in a space where they could feel that, and that, I guess, is the power and the beauty and the difference of coming on a Sophia Circle journey. Because when you do it alone, it's amazing.
Yes.
When you do it in a Sophia Circle journey, it's wow, because you get with that group of people, and you're in that space which the Sophia Circle leader creates. Yeah, it's something else.
I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So interestingly enough, England, I visited England for the first time 1 year before the Sophia Code was published. And I was there with a client, and we did the whole Glastonbury journey to the Chalice Wells and the tour, and Avebury actually had the biggest impact on me. Avebury
Fully agree with that.
Blew my mind. Stonehenge, what? Who cares? Avebury, oh yeah. My God. I was like watching other lifetimes of myself physically walking around there. I did a lot of soul retrieval there. It was extremely powerful, very potent place. Want to go back there big time. And one of the things that blew my mind were the dragon ley lines. They are so real. I mean, we talk a lot about like vortices, vortex energy in Sedona here in the United States, but like, you know, I've lived in some of the most powerful sacred places in the world, Mount Shasta, Hawaii. I lived in Sedona for a time, and I was being initiated on so many levels. But when I traveled to England and I felt those dragon ley lines, I was like, this is no joke. They are truly connected to that Marian legacy, both Magdalene and Mother Mary. And it was extraordinary too, to feel, I could talk about England forever, but my whole lead up and build up is, how was it for you to witness, you know, because if they're in person, I'm assuming they live in England with you, you know, yeah. And so they're being raised in this culture that does have rich lore around dragons and around the Magdalene lineage. It's like, what was that like for them to receive, what was that like for you to witness how they were receiving this like crystalline transmission about the Sophia dragons and about Mary Magdalene? Was it healing for you to witness what was happening for them? Was it fascinating? How was that for you?
It was both things. I mean, it's really interesting what you talk about, kind of this ancient energy here in, yes. Where Hereford is located is probably about 2.5 hours north of Glastonbury and that area. Okay. It's very entrenched in the Arthurian and Merlin lore here as well. Yes. And so the group of people that I had here were very much attuned to kind of that energy and that lore. So for them, it was just more affirmation, reaffirming what they felt themselves about all of that that energy and that connection, and the witnessing of that it's just so beautiful, because each of the initiates were very much wow, this really is something. This is a part of my journey. I'm here in this place at this time for a reason, because I am connected, you know, to this lineage and to this area, and so yeah, it was, and in fact, the people here, we're continuing to do some stuff. There's an awful lot of research. There's a couple of people in front of two of the people who were the initiates on the journey are actually doing research on the local area, because there were an awful lot of sacred sites around here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really fun to kind of continue to get the communication back from them, and how they are they're using their new kind of found knowledge and remembering about those lineages that are in place to actually build upon that. So yeah,
The Sophia Code and the Sophia Circle Journey, like, inspired a deeper reverence for the sacredness of the land, the legacy. Like, it was interesting, like when I traveled to England and Glastonbury, you know, when I was in that final year of channeling the Sophia Code, and it was as though everywhere I walked reassured me that I truly was doing God's work in England. And then, you know, to finally pilgrimage in France on the other side of the publication of the Sophia Code, it was like the complete healing between England and France, to walk on both of those lands. And you know, you can know something in your heart and your head, but when your body physically connects to the land that the masters walked upon themselves, it's like a double confirmation. And so, you know, I'm just so grateful for our Sophia Circle leaders in Europe, because there's a lot of people in the US that are not raised with the understanding of the value of a pilgrimage, the value of sacred sites, because there's so much in the US that's just, it's not a heritage, a spiritual heritage that's often honored. But in Europe, people have been pilgrimaging, you know, making pilgrimages for thousands of years. So there's a deeper kind of spiritual maturity of understanding, like, oh, we're a part of a legacy. And then for the Sophia Code to arrive and have people feel the resonance of that as they're connecting to the legacy of their own land, that means the world to me. So thank you for sharing those insights. Like I said, I literally could have a very long conversation with you. I've been so looking forward to finally meeting you. And it just thrills me that you are offering in-person Sophia Circle Journeys. And I also understand that you're about to offer a virtual journey as well. Will you share with us what's coming up for you, Dr. Merlin?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next Sophia Circle Journey begins on the 27th of June. That's at 1900 British Summer Time. And that will be a virtual journey, because I have initiates I have already interviewed and who have accepted, from Spain, from Germany, as well as some from here in the UK as well. Yeah, I actually was conducting interviews this week for
Amazing.
that. So,
and then you have an in-person journey happening this year as well?
Yeah, that's happening in September. Yeah, another one in September.
So many opportunities to journey through the Sophia Code with Dr. Merlin. How exciting. And I understand we're going to see you in Paris.
Yes, I'm really, really excited about that.
June 15th. So if you'd like to meet Dr. Merlin in person, come join us in Paris, in the heart of Paris, for the Sophia Code ceremony and book signing on June 15th. It has been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I look forward to more. Thank you for your profound spiritual leadership and your dedication to the Sophia Code as a living transmission.
Thanks, Kaia.